The reason that they are afraid of people like me and of my voice is because they cannot challenge me on facts, is because what I'm saying, I can actually explicitly debate their best people if only they are open to conversation. So they don't have anything other than calling people names. This kind of people who can send a letter like this and who can do this to me, I don't think they have a shred of an idea about what conscience is and about what engaged, honest scholarship is and looks like. Did not even consider that my mother lives there. She's elderly. That I will not. That this in effect means that I can't go to her. On the 18th, I came home and I opened this, I got this letter, which as all of their, as also their communication last year, it was backdated. So basically the day that you get the letter isn't the day that the letter is addressed. The letter is addressed like, weeks and weeks ago, but I receive it then. And in this letter, they make these completely unsubstantiated allegations. It's basically just, calling someone things without actually providing any evidence of it. None of that is manifestly the case at all in concerning me. If I look at the letter, I don't think they actually say any of these specific grounds. They just say under the powers conferred, I think it's the same section 7D of Citizenship Act, we cancel it. So it doesn't say under which part of those powers conferred. And there's only that one paragraph which has no links to any evidence or any substantive thing, anything. And if you look at this, I've had the OCI a long time. I've not withheld any information. I'm actually at the polar opposite end of displaying disaffection with the Constitution. I think the Constitution is a sacred document. I think those of us who are struggling right now against authoritarianism and for the idea of India are actually pilgrims on the road of hope to democracy, because democracy is an ancient dream and it's always been under threat everywhere. So it takes work. You don't just get to maintain a democracy if the citizenry doesn't, or if people in general don't care. So I think people in India who are doing this are brave. And for my part, as an academic who studies democracy and who's as I said, has long-standing work on India, it's I have absolutely no disaffection to the Constitution. And as for aiding an enemy during a war, that makes like zero sense. I have no idea what they even what they even mean by that. But anyway, they don't say any of that in the specific letter. Because it is a sensitive time, you need the voices that are telling people that don't make this into a Hindu-Muslim issue. Don't bandwagon on hate and start attacking your own fellow citizens or people elsewhere, or collectively punish a whole population, or spread all sorts of generalized negative, horrible stereotypes about different communities. When you push for tourism in the region as a political solution, and you say everything is fine, everything is normal, we are going to send, there are going to be tourists there, and everyone will see how the situation is great. But then it imposes upon you a responsibility to provide for security and to make sure that large-scale attacks of this kind carried out by terrorists don't happen. So especially if the actual government there is a union territory and not a state. So law and order actually falls and is controlled by the center. So you see, the thing is that it's the people, both Kashmiris and the tourists, who are actually the people who are stuck in this situation, because the tourists are going there thinking that everything is normal, we will be safe and secure. Those, heaven bless them, those people died these awful deaths that none of them deserved. They were targeted by terrorists who have still not been caught, right? Asking about why was it possible that far away from the, certain a distance away from the border, there was so little security, what security was there, how are these people able to get in, how are they able to target these people, is not anti-national. That's like common sense 101. And in any country in the world, there would be political executive accountability, and politicians would be asked these questions. These are Indian citizens. They were targeted by terrorists. You need to go after the terrorists, not only just say going after them. You need to actually find out where the lapses occurred. And in fact, one of their ministers, Kiren Rijiju, did use the word lapse. So if there is a lapse, there has to be accountability. So there was this convention on the constitution. The government of Karnataka invited me amongst many other people. So I was coming obviously from the UK. It was only for 2 days. I reached there. I was denied entry. I had a valid OCI. I was denied entry. No reason was given to me. And I was asked by immigration, about having been critical of RSS and Ram Madhav, etc. I rushed and prioritized and wrote them this long response. And amongst the many things, so what I did was I took the paragraph that they had and I highlighted all of the things that weren't just articles or prepositions. Like, for instance, it has been pointed out that you indulged in anti-India activities, or you have a highly biased stand. And then I did a 2-column thing, and I took each one of their phrases and in detail rebutted that with detailed evidence. How can they maintain that I have some kind of anti-India malice when I have routinely critiqued Pakistan, Iran, Turkey, China, United States, UK, Saudi Arabia, and many other countries in the world? And I gave them actually links to lots and lots of online public statements where I had been critical of other places too. And in fact, that there is no evidence that they have that I have some kind of bad faith to India. In fact, anyone who cares about India and democracy and secularism and the constitution would be saying and is saying the same thing, whether they are, as me, whether they are in the country or outside, that in fact that authoritarianism and repression is a problem. So I sent them that, and then I heard nothing from them for, well, since last May to this May, so almost a year, I heard nothing from them. And then at the end of it, they sent me another letter, which I received on the 18th of this month, which came through my post. Heaven knows when they sent it or whatever. It was dated, as I said, weeks ago. And in this letter, they basically repeat the same thing. It's as if I hadn't written to them, they hadn't understood or even bothered to read what I wrote. And the funny thing is, everyone I tell this to, told this to says, of course they weren't going to read it. But somehow I acted in the absurd hope that they might read it. My work is specifically on looking at India. So, I am not I have not, for instance, if you think about South Korea, I do not study South Korean politics, for instance, or, pick any country out of the world. So there are specific regions and specific topics that I work on. So what these, trolls and people online and others need to understand, that it is an academic's job to study things. There are academics in India who study other countries, right? That's what people do. It is not the responsibility of every Indian origin person to say the elected government of Modi-led BJP is great. It's not, and it's not a crime if you don't do that. I'm invited as an expert by the US, to actually testify, am I not allowed to do that as an international academic of, British academic who's of Indian origin? It doesn't make sense, because that cannot be the official position of any country, and including India. So the fact that I did that, and this was also, as you know, followed by COVID, so travel was quite restricted. But after that, every single time that I've had to pass through the borders on either to India or on my way, in transit, I have always had this strange experience at immigration, where they kind of look at this thing for a bit longer, and then someone calls someone and they have a little conference, and often, and then so once or twice I asked them, like, why do you look at the screen so long? It's not a problem. So, or tell me what it is. So the only response that I got on a couple of occasions was, no, actually, due to COVID, we have not connected the old and new passports with the OCIs, and it's because it's a delay from London, and we will eventually get there. I said, is there anything I can do about it? This is from some years ago. I said, is there anything I can do about it? Can I write a letter to somebody? And they said, no, it's fine. It's just, it's just the system. So to have this kind of thing happen, I don't know. See, the thing is, in the absence of any clear statement or evidence, one has to just think, okay, could it be this? Could it be that? Could it be something else? But I don't know. But certainly, the thing last year was the first time that they denied me entry. But I don't know, maybe it was a COVID thing, and their software or whatever. I have no idea in the previous instances after 2019. But I see no reason why they should act in this way, because there are other Indians, many of them Indian origin people, who cheerlead for the regime, and and they go about their business in the rest of the world, and also in India. So is the idea that people who are OCI holders can only be cheerleaders of the ruling party, which happens to be Modi-led BJP? But if they're not saying, yes, Modi is great, RSS is great, and everything is wonderful, then they are somehow seeking to be punished, because there can be all kinds of, just as in a country there can be different shades of opinion, in the diaspora also there can be different shades of opinion. So there is no rationale for this kind of behavior on their part. If you cancel more OCIs in 1 year, then almost half of the number that you've done in 10 years, you do in 1 year. That doesn't point to, that doesn't point to anything other than the fact that you are growing insecure, and you are seeking to silence people and repress people, and that you are afraid of the word. You are afraid of the written word, you're afraid of the spoken word, and you're afraid of people who are in media and academia, and who are precisely the kinds of voices you need to be there for the mirror to be shown. This has carried on year after year, with increasing, increasing crushing of dissent, or at least seeking to silence and make examples out of people. So and it's so multidimensional. It's going after people in politics, in media, in academia, and all of the while it's making nothing really better. It's just, all it does is try to keep silencing people, and this is the hallmark of an authoritarian style of governance. And this is not how a democracy should function. So those in the media, in politics, in society, in any walk of life, inside or outside the country, who are facing this, are part of the same story. So now, of course, I'm left with no option but to have to go through the legal route. I'm not a lawyer. I can't file that case here. I would have to do that here. I welcome any and all help from people who are more aware of the legal profession, so that at least I have some idea of how to navigate this. I don't know what I do know is that any court will obviously see sense in what I'm saying. So that's not the point. The point is the process, and they know that the process is the punishment. Sometimes it's the process of going through that.